I make no sense in hiding that I'm a little bit of a Minmatar fanboy, and of the 7 tribes of the Matari clans, I am a huge fan of the Thuka, or Thuka tribe, depending on how you want to pronounce that. I love the way their ships look, I love their lore of being space nomads roaming in great caravans, and their ships are just so awesome. I fly the Cheetah as pretty much my main ship in EVE Online, so it was obvious that one day I was going to be undocking a Vagabond and seeing how I could run this in various different parts of content. Now, because I'm kind of on an Abyssal Dead Space bent this week, I thought that the first thing I'd showcase the Vagabond in was running with Agitated Firestorm Abyssal Dead Spaces, and this ship is an absolute beast at running these. In fact, with the right skills, making an Agitated run is super easy. You could probably even start going up to Fierce, and in this video, I'm going to showcase how. Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome back to another video for EVE Online. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing one of my favourite looking ships in the entirety of New Eden, the Minmatar Republic, or technically Thuka mix, Vagabond. This is a heavy assault cruiser based on the Stabber line of cruiser hulls, and the Stabber has always been one of those ships that I do enjoy flying, and the Vagabond, it takes everything that was cool about the Stabber and ramps it up to 11. Even its visuals, look at it, this thing looks like an axolotl in the cutest, most badass way, and again, by using the Thuka tribe skin, it's one I don't even need to buy a skin for. This is one of my favourite looking skins in the game, and it is a source of constant anguish and despair that the Thuka skin is always a 30-day limited. There's no way to make it permanent on my other ships, and that makes me sad. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to be talking about what the Vagabond is, how we can set this up to run Firestorm Abyssals, and have a great fun time earning some really quite powerful ISK. It's a cruiser, which means you are running at the lower end of the loot spectrum, but it's just so much fun to fly that, you know what, I don't give a damn. And quite frankly, running things like Agitated Firestorms in frigates and destroyers solo is just not really a thing. You're looking into cruisers at this point anyway, and if, like me, you like launching hot lead at targets, yeah, this is going to be a ship that you will really thoroughly enjoy. Anyway, if you do enjoy this video, please do take an extra second just to hit like, drop a comment down below letting me know what you think of this ship of Abyssal Dead Spaces. What kind of fun are you having in EVE Online right now? I love chatting with you guys in the comment section. I do try to respond to all of them, so please drop a comment down below, hit like on the video. It does really help the channel out. But if you do want to go the extra mile to help support content like this and keeping me making videos like this, you can join me on Patreon. I've got a PayPal page as well that you can drop some cash into a tip jar, and I even have a Redbubble merchandise store if you fancy picking up some cool Captain Benzie themed swag. Anyway, with all of that said and done, the final thing to mention is that if you are new to EVE Online, perhaps watching this video as something, I've seen the Vagabond on the ship tree, I'm looking at what I can do eventually, I do have a referral link down below that will earn you 1 million free skill points. If you've never used a referral link, you can even use this on existing long-term accounts, and 1 million free skill points is nothing to be sniffed at. I do get a minor kickback myself, but it's mainly the million free skill points that I'm looking to just kind of help you guys out with. And come join the Catskill Discord as well. Bunch of like-minded folks on there who want to talk about all things EVE Online, will happily help you out with Abyssal Dead Spaces. You can even apply to join our corporation if that sounds like something that might be interesting to you. Anyway, all that said and done then, let's jump right into talking about the Minmatar Republic Vagabond. The Vagabond is the Minmatar Republic's heavy assault cruiser based on the Stabber line. I love this ship to pieces, but let's talk about its stats and what heavy assault cruiser means. Now, if you're flying a ship like this, I don't really need to explain to you how an Abyssal Dead Space works. This is not the kind of ship that you want to take into your very first Abyssal. Instead, grab something like a Rupture and jump into a couple of T1s to get a feel for what Abyssal Dead Spaces are like. I've already done a video showcasing how that works, and I will try and remember to put a link in the description down below. Otherwise, just search YouTube for Captain Benzie Abyssal Rupture, and you'll find that video nice and easily. Anyway, heavy assault cruisers. In order to fly a heavy assault cruiser, you're going to need Minmatar Cruiser 5 and then start training the heavy assault cruiser skill. But what is a heavy assault cruiser? Well, the main thing that separates these from other cruisers is their roll bonus. This roll bonus down here that says they can fit assault damage controls. So let's spend a brief moment just to talk about what an assault damage control is and how it differs from a standard damage control unit. Now, first of all, it should be noted you can only fit assault damage controls to assault frigates or heavy assault cruisers, and mousing over either of these will tell you which ships qualify. You'll notice that the Vagabond is on this list here, as are a few other ships that you may have seen mentioned on this channel otherwise. So have a look through that and just make sure that the ship you're flying can, of course, use a assault damage control unit before you buy one. But you're watching this video, we're talking about the Vagabond, obviously this can fit one. Now, an assault damage control is primarily a passive module. It gives you resistances across the board to your hull, armor, and shield. You'll notice these are lower than a standard damage control unit, especially like a damage control unit 2. We only get 25% hull resistances, 7.5% armor, and 5% on shield. And so you might be thinking, why on earth would I want to run one of these when it's not as good as the standard damage control unit? Well, that's because that's just the passive. An assault damage control can be activated for a significant boost. Now you'll notice here, activated damage resistance 75%, and I'll showcase this in a moment. Basically, when you activate an assault damage control unit, it shoots your resistances up through the roof, and it will do so for a duration here of just under 9 seconds. Essentially, this makes the assault damage control a panic button. Oh no, oh crap, I'm taking too much damage, pop. And suddenly you're taking no damage, and it is just brutal how much this can tank for those 9 seconds. It should be noted there is a 150 seconds reactivation delay, so if you're going to activate an assault damage control unit, make sure that you really need it right now and you're not going to need it more in any time in the next 150 seconds, basically. Now, just to showcase how much this does, here you can see my resistances as they stand. If we simulate the fit, watch those shoot all the way up. Now, this is because the assault damage control obviously is activated when we simulate. Those are our standard resists. You can see there, just for an example, our armor is down at 19% on explosive, 91% on shield, and 91% on electromagnetic, sorry. Our shield goes between 45% on the kinetic damage up to a top of 84 on thermal. But if we activate that assault damage control, suddenly the armor shoots up to 78% on its own on the explosive, and the thermal is 96%. Just how incredible is this? It's a severe amount of tank for the duration of its activation. Now, for the ship itself, if we look at its role bonuses, we get Minmatar Cruiser. You will need Minmatar Cruiser 5 in order to fly this ship anyway, so I'll talk about this as if you've trained it to 5. And Heavy Assault Cruisers, I do recommend having that trained up to 4 before you start running. You'll want it at least 3 to do Agitated, preferably 4, and if you want to start doing Raging, then you are, or Fierce, sorry, if you want to start doing the Fierce Abyssal Deadspaces, you're going to want to get that all the way up to Heavy Assault Cruisers 4 and start looking at training into 5. Maybe even look into some implants at that point as well, but for the time being, I'm going to be showcasing this on a clean clone that doesn't have those implants. Anyway, so Heavy Assault Cruiser bonuses per level and Minmatar Cruiser bonuses. Minmatar Cruiser, again, we're going to have trained up to 5. You need 5 to undock it, so that's going to give us a 25% bonus to medium projectile turret rate of fire. And then a 7.5, so 37.5% bonus to shield booster amount. This means that the amount, when you activate a shield booster, you're getting an additional 37.5% boost, having your shield repaired by that much as well. That makes it extraordinarily tanky. The Heavy Assault Cruiser skill is going to give us a 12.5% bonus per level to medium projectile turret fall-off, which helps us with range, and 5% bonus to medium projectile turret damage. Now, this means that with Heavy Assault Cruisers and Minmatar Cruiser, we are attacking the DPS equation from both sides. Remember, DPS is damage per second. You can increase that by increasing your rate of fire or increasing the damage per shot, and having these skills trained does both. We're obviously going to be fitting medium projectile turrets, but with fall-off being a bonus, that implies that autocannons are going to be what we're looking at here. And quite frankly, in an Abyssal Dead Space, autocannons are going to give us more than enough range to handle every ship we need. So let's have a look at the fit itself. Now, the fit, as usual, is going to be linked in the description down below, so you can copy and paste it into Python, or you can copy and paste it straight into the fitting window in-game, so that you can see how it works with your fit, with your skills. It should be noted, this is pretty tight on CPU. Power Grid's got a bit of space, but it's worth training your CPU management and your Power Grid management skills all the way up, and look for anything else that will reduce Power Grid or CPU usage, like the weapon upgrades skills as well. So starting with the high slots then, of course we are using projectile turrets, we're going to be using autocannons. I've gone for 425mm AutoCannon IIs. You can get away with just the sort of the mid-grade ones, obviously don't go with AutoCannon 1s, but if you wanted to go with some of the mid-grade stuff you can do. We're not really using the Tech 2 ammo in this, again you can do, but I'm mainly using phased plasma because we're going to be running Firestorms, and Firestorms reduce the amount of thermal resistances on both us and our enemies. So, dealing a lot of thermal damage, like phased plasma does, means we're going to be exploiting that resistance hole to the best of our ability. And you can see that with this fit, we get an optimal range of 1.6 kilometers with a fall off out to 25. Now, a lot of people try to orbit as close to the optimal range as possible. That's not how autocannons work. You'll probably find that if you're orbiting at 1.6 kilometers and somehow holding that, you're going to be missing most of your shots because the tracking just isn't there. Instead, you want to pull back a little bit because how the optimal to fall off works is a gentle curved decline, which means if you are a couple of kilometers beyond optimal, it's practically at optimal. It takes a long time. By the time you hit 25 kilometers, you're essentially doing about half your DPS, but remember, it is a curve. So the closer you are to optimal, the less the reduction, if that makes sense. Like, it starts to reduce more the further that you go out. Anyway, respectable damage out of this, 597.1 DPS, of which most of that is straight out of the cannons. There are drones on this ship, but they're only giving us 83.5 DPS. It is primarily the cannons that are going to be doing that damage. For the mid slots, we are going a shield tank. So I've got active shield tank, Gist X-type thermal shield hardener, because we do have a big thermal hole without that. If I were to deactivate it here and deactivate the damage control, you'll see that our thermal does drop down quite a bit, and that's going to drop even further once we're inside a Firestorm. It's very easy to look at this and go, oh, but kinetic's the lowest one. That's what we need to plug. No. When we go into a Firestorm, we are losing a lot of thermal resistances, in some cases as much as 75%. So we need something that is going to plug this, hence the thermal shield hardener, just to get that up as high as we can. We then are going to be using ancillary shield boosters, 2 large ancillary shield boosters. I'm running Navy Cap Booster 200s for these. You're going to want to hold full of those, as many of them as you can cram into your hold, leaving just enough space to pick up the Triglavian Red Loot, which fortuitously is a fairly low cubic meterage, and yeah. What you're going to need to remember though is that these have a reload time of 1 whole minute, which means you don't just want to have both of them active and be wasting. No, you need to think about how you are going to activate these, when you're going to activate them, to get the maximum effect out of them. And you want to stagger them as best as possible. Use one of them till it's drained, then while it's reloading, you still have the other one. The worst thing you can do is end up in a situation where you are taking massive amounts of damage, where your assault damage control unit is offline, and both of your large ancillary shield boosters are currently reloading. That is not a position anyone wants to be in, because that is going to drain your cap at a ridiculous rate at that point. You're going to cap out, you are going to be destroyed. Now, the other low slots, of course, we've gone for the assault damage control unit. I kind of feel that if you're flying a heavy assault cruiser, the assault damage control is kind of an auto-include. I know some people do prefer just to go for like a standard DCU in those slots. For me though, I just really like having a panic button for in case I screw up flying. It just gives me that option to click one thing and boom, I'm taking no damage for the next 8 to 9 seconds. The other low slots then, I've gone for 3 Gyrostabilizer IIs. This is going to help us increase that DPS. You can see nearly 600 DPS out of this thing, and a tracking enhancer too, just to make sure that we are actually hitting our target and dealing that damage to them. Now, if you have slightly lower gunnery skills, perhaps you don't have motion prediction trained up, my first question would be why, but you can theoretically drop another Gyrostabilizer and run 2 gyros and 2 tracking enhancers in order just to make sure you're applying. It's pointless having nearly 600 DPS if you can't hit anything. Better to have 550 or 500 DPS and actually be able to apply it to a target. Worth bearing in mind. Finally then, let's have a look at the rigs. The first is a medium projectile collision accelerator 2. This is just to increase the amount of damage that we are putting out. It increases the amount of damage per shot fired. You can go for a bay-loading accelerator, but I seem to think that when I was running this fit, I kind of simulated both, and the collision accelerator came out on top due to the roll bonuses of the Vagabond itself. Finally then, for the rigs, medium explosive shield reinforcer. Again, this is just to pull this one up, because without this fitted, you'll see our explosive resistances are just a little bit low. Otherwise though, that gives us the fit as you see it here, so let's take this out into space, run some Firestorms, and show you how it works. I'm going to be running an Agitated Firestorm filament for this particular video. Again, I've told you this can go up to Raging, but in order to run a Raging, I do strongly recommend the Heavy Assault Cruiser skill trained to 5 and running a clone with some Projectile cannon implants in there as well, just to help you out. But let's showcase this in the Agitated Firestorm filament and how this works. So we use the filament, it's going to jump us in. First room we have here is a Triglavian room, and I've got a couple of Kikimuras, some Damaviks, and a Striking Drekavac. So, is it Striking Drekavac? Yeah, sorry, Striking Drekavac up there. Cool. So, again, because this is a Firestorm filament, I'm using Phased Plasma ammunition. Phased Plasma because it deals as much thermal damage as we can. We're going to go after the Striking Damaviks first, just because these do get quite nasty if they spool up, and I reckon I should be able to take that Drekavac quite comfortably, quite quickly. Now, the Tangling Kikimura, if I remember correctly, has webs, and since we are kind of relying a little bit on our speed when orbiting, the Tangling Kikimura does feel like something I want to take out fairly quickly as well. I do also apologise. Obviously, I am not the best pilot, and I make no shame in hiding that. I am not the best pilot, but I showcase that this ship can run this kind of content even with an idiot behind the controls. So if I can do this, you definitely can, especially if you're training those skills a little bit higher, especially if you're learning the intimate ins and outs of your own vessel, and if you're running implants on a ship that are specific to the ship you're flying. So I recommend things like the medium projectile damage implant, maybe a rate of fire, maybe a tracking implant, stuff like that. You could possibly even go for a shield one on this. It's entirely up to you how you choose to do that. At this point though, you can see I am essentially just orbiting that Striking Drekavac. I'm shooting everything else, and that Drekavac is going to go down fairly quickly. I'm going to send my drones after the bioadaptive cache so I can kill that and then loot it separately. So it just gives me the option to quickly loot that whilst still shooting at the Drekavac. Obviously, if I've got angular velocity up, that is going to negatively affect my own turrets, so actually flying away does increase my damage. But remember, flying in a straight line away or towards a ship, especially one that is using turrets, means they're going to hit you easier too. Anyway, Striking Drekavac is about to go down. Loot all out of the wreckage of the biocompetitive cache. Let's now make our way towards the transfer conduit and quickly pull our drones back en route, because we don't want to leave our drones behind, because if you leave your drones behind, there's no going into the other room. There we are. They're nice and in the bay now. And on we go. Now, again, stupidly, I'm using Hornet IIs. I would actually recommend that you're using the, not Hobgoblins. Yeah, Hobgoblin IIs. Hobgoblin IIs for this, because again, thermal damage, but I ran out of Hobgoblins from running other videos and running other stuff there and losing Hobgoblins because my drone control skills are not great, by which I mean my actual skills as a player, not the skills that you invest SP into. Now the second room here, gorgeous as it looks, like I mean seriously look at that, that's just stunning, is an Angel Cartel room or a Lucifer room. These are pretty scary, I'm not gonna lie. I mean already look at just above the heads up display there, I'm being muted, I'm being webbed, I'm being scrammed, for whatever that really matters. I can't warp, I suppose micro warp drives, you'd lose the ability to use a micro warp drive under that scram, but yeah, it's not like I'm going to be warping anywhere in an Abyssal dead space. Anyway, at this point, it's kind of up to you what order you take these in. I'm obviously going to go after that Lucifer Cinnable, because that's hitting me with webs and a newt. And I would like to get rid of the webs, because moving fast and reducing my damage is pretty important to me. On top of which, the whole thing of incoming neutralization is pretty nasty as well. It's not too bad on this particular ship. I'm not really using it all that much. I don't know why I've got the Neocom open at this point. That's really annoying that it's on the side of the screen there. Oops. and then we're going to go after everything else. Now, interestingly, you'd think the bursts are remote reps. From what I can tell, they're not really. I don't know if they just go down too quick or what's going on there, but maybe they are, and they just die quickly. So if they are kind of the thing you probably should go after quickly, but everything else, yeah, there we are. The Drumiel's repairing its shields. That probably is the burst doing that. So probably worth taking the bursts out first. Remote repairers are always pretty useful to get rid of them first, your logistics vessels, because they just, otherwise leaving them alive means it takes longer to kill everything else. You'll notice as well, I'm currently reloading one of those large ancillary shield boosters, and you can see how long that reload time is. I complain about the reload time of rapids, so looking at an ancillary shield booster, oh yoy. What are you doing? Are you literally getting out and Minecraft style kind of just combining all the items together to make it and then plug it in? Why does that take so long? I don't know. But anyway, there we are. That's the first room done. We can now, second room done. We can now pull the drones back, shoot the biocompetitive cache. Let's loot that cage. No, not engage target. That's a bad idea. Loot everything, pull the drones back. Always make sure to pull the drones back, and it's worth trying to reload everything as well. I mean, even the shield boosters at this point, because I'm still ready to loot. If you hadn't reloaded a shield booster, I would do so. You're probably not going to need it immediately in the next room. So reloading things, always nice to do as you're moving towards the next gate, just because there's nothing else to do at this point and you'd rather go into the next room with as much stuff as possible, right? Now, with a ship that's moving as quickly as this one is, I probably have time to go after perhaps some of the extraction nodes as well. I just would rather not. They're so far away, and they don't tend to have that good loot in them. It tends to work out better just to, rather than doing one run that takes 15 minutes, do 2 runs that take 8 minutes. You work out better that way. Ooh, final room here, Charybdis Tyrannos, followed by a load of Ephialtes, or Ephialtes, I don't know how you pronounce that. I've always said Ephialtes. Obfuscators. Those are pretty scary. They are sensor dampeners. They can do some nasty things, forcing me to get close before I can lock and shoot. As it happens, I'm okay with this at this point in time. These are not really doing all that much, and you'll see that if I launch my drones and start shooting at them, boy, do they go down fairly quickly. I mean, look at that. I've taken the shield down in, 2 cycles? The armor's taking a couple more, but really not long at all. These go down quickly. These go down quickly with the amount of firepower we're putting out. I want to be orbiting this Charybdis Tyrannos as quickly and effectively as possible. I want to get into that range. The Charybdis Tyrannos does this really annoying thing where it spends most of its time pulling away from you, trying to get to the edge of the arena. And if you don't kill it quickly, then essentially it's going to just run to the edge of the arena and force you to orbit it in a way that is going to require you to fly out of the arena, or better yet, to manually pilot backward and forward, keeping up your traversal. But that's not ideal, right? That's really not an ideal way to play this. So I want to get in close. I want to get in close as well, because this thing hits hard, but it's got really bad tracking. And you can see now that I'm in, nice and tight and I'm getting a bit of angular velocity, most of those shots are missing. And again, when you're running ancillaries, the aim is to use as few of those as possible, because every time I use that shield booster, I'm using charges, and that's going to, there we are, recharge, a minute-long recharge, but I've still got the second one. That's eating into my profits, because I have to replace those cap boosters, and they take up a lot of cargo, which means they're also pretty difficult to haul. There's a lot wrong with the cap boosters, with their ancillaries, but they do what I need. They do what I need in this situation. They keep me alive quite comfortably and allow me to just chew through what I need to chew through. Drones have gotten rid of that biocompetitive cache so I can loot it. There goes the Charybdis Tyrannos. Nice big explosion in the background about to happen. Oh yes, I like my explosions. I love the Abyssal Deadspaces for how they look in general, but look at that explosion. That's just beautiful. Anyway, next obfuscator, let's just chew through that nice and quickly. You'll see I'm still reloading that large ancillary shield booster, because of course we are, they take a long time to reload. And now time to take out those last obfuscators. Let's move towards the biocompetitive cache as well. Fortunately, obfuscators don't do that much damage, so I don't mind flying away from them in a straight line. It's going to increase my application by reducing the traversal velocity or the angular velocity between myself and my target, therefore more likely to get better hits rather than glances. Going to get those hits and smashes rather than glances and grazes. Nearly at the loot cache. Again, you can just click loot all, or you can use the keyboard shortcut of just striking the enter key when that loot all pops up. Hopefully the Occultist Obfuscator should be dead. I can now bring the drones back, loot this cache, and then make my way to the exit. How simple was that? 10 minutes that has taken to do. And again, if you're running higher skills, better gunnery skills than I have, the full Heavy Assault Cruiser 5, which I am training into, I promise, eventually, maybe, perhaps, and maybe a clone that is using implants geared towards this as well, you're going to do even better. Otherwise, folks, let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!